Fishing trips anywhere, anytime. FishingBooker.com.
Hey, what's up, happy people? This is Robert Arrington from Deer Meat for Dinner. If you're into bow fishing like I am, you need to check out Cajun Bow Fishing. I've been using their gear for years, from the Sucker Punch Pro to the Winch Pro Reel. It's tough, it's reliable, and it works. Whether you're just getting started or you're ready to take the step to the next level, head over to CajunBowfishing.com and check out everything Cajun Bow Fishing has to offer. I trust their gear because it works. So if you're hitting the water soon, make sure you're rigged up with Cajun Bow Fishing. You will not regret it.
Want to plan your next fishing trip without the hassle? FishingBooker.com is the best way to find and book a fishing charter anywhere in the world. Whether you're chasing trophy fish or just looking for a family day on the water, Fishing Booker makes it simple, fast, and secure. With thousands of experienced guides, verified reviews, and 24/7 customer support, Fishing Booker takes the guesswork out of planning. Visit FishingBooker.com and book your trip today. Fishing Booker. Fishing trips made easy.
Looks like me and Vincent caught you boys at breakfast. Sorry about that. What you having?
Hamburgers.
Hamburgers! The cornerstone of any nutritious breakfast. You mind if I try one of yours? This is yours here, right? Yeah. This is a tasty burger. I can't usually get them because my girlfriend's a vegetarian, which pretty much makes me a vegetarian, but I do love the taste of a good burger.
You just heard one of the most famous burger scenes in movie history. But today we're taking things way beyond the big kahuna. Today we're diving deep into the world of wild burgers, where the patties are made from venison, trout, bear, goose, and so much more. And the toppings? Some of those might be foraged from your backyard or even in the backcountry. We're exploring the history, the craft, the creative freedom that comes with building burgers from what you've hunted, fished, or foraged. From fat ratios to toasted buns, cast iron sears to spruce tip condiments, this episode is your blueprint for the ultimate wild burger. And yes, we have a game, the Wild Burger Build-Off. So fire up the grill, grab your spatula, and let's get into it.
Join Justin Townsend and the Harvesting Nature crew as they explore the world of cooking wild fish and game while sharing recipes, tips, tricks, and lessons learned from their pursuit of wild food. We sure hope you ate before the show, 'cause you're gonna leave hungry. This is the Wild Fish and Game Podcast.
This episode, we're diving into one of the most iconic and endlessly customizable foods out there, the burger. But we're not talking about your average drive-through cheeseburger, although good, although comforting. We're going higher. We're exploring burgers made with wild ingredients. Think venison, duck, trout, bear, and even foraged toppings like pickled ramps, nettle pesto, or wild mushrooms. This isn't just about the meat between the buns. It's about bringing the forest, field, and stream straight to your plate. Burgers made with wild game or harvested ingredients are a unique blend of rugged traditions and creative cooking. They challenge you to think differently about flavor, fat, texture, and even the way you stack your toppings. There's a certain pride that comes from building a burger out of what you've hunted, fished, or foraged, and today we're going to unpack the techniques, the tips, and the inspiration that go into making those burgers not just edible, but exceptional. Whether you're grinding up last season's venison roast or looking for a way to use that trout you caught last week, this episode is packed with practical advice to level up your wild burger game. From fat ratios to bun choices, from searing techniques to flavor pairings, we've got you covered. Let's fire up the skillet, stoke the coals. Your next great burger is closer than you think. But first, in order to really passionately understand the burger, we must become the burger. And to become the burger, we must come from its origins. So, Adam, history of the burger, go!
Let's do it. History of the burger. Hamburger is one of the most iconic and beloved foods in the world. It's made its way across pretty much every single type of cuisine out there, but it's especially popular where it kind of fully originated in its known form in America. It's simple, just a patty of ground meat sandwiched between two halves of a bun. But like most great foods, its origins are not so simple. To trace the roots of the hamburger, we're going to go all the way back to the Mongol Empire, where there's a kind of a loose connection. Legend has it that Mongol horsemen under Genghis Khan would tuck raw meat under their saddles to tenderize it as they rode. Sounds pretty delicious. When these warriors eventually moved west, the concept of ground or chopped meat kind of traveled with them and became a staple of European cooking. There's another legend, and we might as well talk about it too, because there's often burgers come with cheese, that the first cheeses were also made in a similar way, where Mongol horsemen would have kind of a bladder of milk that they brought with them, mare's milk, and as they rode, they would shake and kind of churn and heat up and everything and mix with the, I guess, natural rennet maybe in the bladders or stomachs, and would form into cheese. So we have basically a cheeseburger on the go. Talk about your original fast food cheeseburger on the sitting under the ass of a Mongol horseman. We're going to fast forward, luckily, a few centuries ahead, and we find ourselves in Hamburg, Germany, and that town might have some significance here, in the 18th and 19th century. At this time, Hamburg was a major port city, and its sailors and dock workers were often found eating a dish called Hamburg steak, which became very popular in the region. It was basically minced beef, seasoned and shaped into patties, and often served raw or lightly cooked. So it's basically some sort of like burger tartare combination. As German immigrants arrived in the United States in the 1800s, and there were lots of them, so did the Hamburger steak, which showed up with them. And it makes sense that it came from a port city to a new location. In fact, early American menus in the mid-19th century offered Hamburg-style beef to appeal to German customers. This would be probably sold on trains and restaurants and hotels, so the Hamburg-style beef was becoming quite popular. At this point, there's still no buns involved, so they weren't really quite a hamburger. The big turning point came in the late 1800s or early 1900s or so, when someone had the genius idea to put that beef patty between two pieces of bread, making it easier to eat on the go. This transformed a fork and knife meal into a true handheld street food, or gambling food if we go back to our chat about the Earl of Sandwich and why he created meat between two slices of bread for easier gambling. So who actually invented the burger? There are at least like 5 or 6 families or people or restaurants who have claimed to be the original burger creators, which is often the case with these foods. One of them, Charlie Green from Wisconsin, allegedly sold meatballs flattened between bread at a country fair in 1885. The Menchus brothers from Ohio claim to have run out of sausage at a fair and substituted beef in the sandwich as well. Louis Lassen of Lewis's Lunch in New Haven, Connecticut, often gets credited for serving the first hamburger in 1900. That's according to the Library of Congress. So that might be a good one. And finally, Fletcher Davis from Texas claims to have sold burgers at the 1904 St. Louis World Fair. And there's lots of other stories too. So who really knows? No one really knows for sure who was first. But by the early 20th century, the hamburger was catching on fast, especially as America urbanized and workers needed fast filling meals. And this kind of goes into the rise of the fast food burger, which kind of came around in the 1920s. The burger, as we know it, truly exploded thanks to the rise of White Castle, founded in 1921 in Wichita, Kansas. And they helped change the public perception about ground beef, which up to that point had been viewed with suspicion due to meatpacking scandals. We've talked a little bit about this in the sausage making. But, they were grinding horse and they were grinding all sorts of unsavory things, old meat back into it at one point. So White Castle focused on cleanliness and consistency, and those tiny, square, gross little sliders became a hit. Have you ever had White Castle before, Justin?
Oh, yeah. I've had White Castle. I'm a big fan of its southern brother or sister Crystals, which I think the big difference is just the sauce. They're prepared exactly the same, except for Crystals uses mustard, and I think White Castle uses mayonnaise.
Oh, okay. We don't have them in Canada, and I saw the Harold and Kumar Go to White Castle movie.
I was about to say there's a famous cinematic production about it.
Exactly,
it's riveting.
Yeah, excellent, very educational movie. But so we had to have it. So we did a road trip to Tennessee for Bonnaroo, and on the way back we were just disgusting slobs of people who had been camping and sweating all week, whatever. And we stopped
let's pop in the White Castle.
Yeah, so we found a White Castle and went in, and my buddy ordered a briefcase full of burgers. It's like a cardboard briefcase with like 50 burgers or something stupid. And we got in the car, and the stink of it was too much, like on top of how we smelled, and then the briefcase of burgers. And I remember we stopped at a gas station, and he threw the whole thing out with the saddest look on his face. That's my White Castle memory.
Ooh.
After, yeah, it was pretty nasty. By the mid-20th century, McDonald's, Burger King, Wendy's, all those other ones had turned the hamburger into a global phenomenon and started spreading around from the States into, Canada and Mexico and then all over the world. You can find them in India and Japan, everywhere now. The burger was no longer a roadside novelty. It was an American institution, exported around the world, and it became kind of synonymous with American food. From there, the burger became more than fast food, kind of like an empty canvas for chefs to elevate, whether by using grass-fed beef or Wagyu beef or foie gras, truffles, and everything kind of people. There's like $1,000 burgers with gold leaf on them and everything. And then the plant-based burgers came out, and lab-grown burgers. So it's just become this kind of national obsession. And let's not forget the rise of wild burgers, which are often paired with foraged toppings. It's kind of like a modern twist on an old food and kind of bringing back nature to that tradition. And if a restaurant's going to have at least one wild thing on the menu, it's probably going to be a burger. It's probably going to be a bison burger, elk burger, venison burger. Even Arby's sold a venison burger for a while as a media stunt. That just goes to show that the burger is not done evolving. And I'm pretty excited to see where it heads next because it's such a blank canvas. You can do so much with it. It's been pretty cool to see the evolution of the burger over our lifetimes.
It's it's been fun to see, and it's fun to see the rise beyond just the standard burger. I remember getting asked to write an article or recipe for Meat Eater about the Oklahoma onion burger, and there's like all these different like variations of smash burgers and onion burgers, and everybody's got like a local claim to like, oh, this burger originated here. Yeah. And I'm like, yeah, I think everybody's just enjoyed ground meat in some variety, and then. Yeah, I wonder the point in which, like, hey, let's put it between two pieces of bread, right? Mm-hmm. I mean, 1800s, early 1900s, like, that's a big chunk of time. Yeah. But, like, when did it become a thing, I wonder? I wonder if it has to do with sliced bread or other things like that sort of making an appearance. And then the burger bun itself.
Yeah, because that kind of became its own thing.
Yeah.
Because the patty melt is kind of different than the burger.
Yeah.
It kind of gives you a different experience. So.
And there's a video on YouTube when I was doing a bit of research on this, and it's like cooking 200 years worth of hamburgers, and the guy goes through all the different styles, and it's like the imagery on the first is the picture of like a modern day hamburger, and then the other one is like a hamburger as it was originally, and it was like two pieces of sliced bread and then the patty. And so it's like even that sort of like looking through the evolution, it's kind of interesting to think through. And then the gourmet version of it, like, I don't know, I've got my thoughts on Wagyu burgers and all that stuff. Like, I doubt somebody would slap a Wagyu steak between their saddle and their horse and ride it across.
Wouldn't be much of a left, I don't think.
Yeah, right. Just a really pissed off, oily, greasy horse.
Yeah. Yeah, horse heat rendered fat.
All right. Well, I think let's get into our game, the Wild Burger Build Off. And so I think the point of this game is we're going to read some of the options available, and then the other person chooses the ingredients for you. So Adam's going to choose ingredients for me. I'm going to choose ingredients for him. And then we're going to describe the burger that we would make with the ingredients, and then what we can do with the ingredients, like add stuff, sauce, spice, all that free game. And then we're going to come up with a name for the burger. And then we want you to vote for who has the best burger combination out of Adam and I. We have not pre-staged this burger competition. Adam knows not what I am picking, and I know not what Adam is picking. So I would say whoever gets declared the winner has to do something. What do we want to do? Maybe we donate $20 to a conservation organization.
Let's do that.
Of our choice.
Yeah,
That sounds like fun.
There's a burger conservation or organization somewhere.
Speaking of that, I want to highlight the fact too that we've been releasing our invasive species search, which are all tied to conservation organizations. So if you're big on donating to conservation organization and you like cool shirts, go buy one of those. We donated a portion of the proceeds to the conservation organizations focused around that sort of particular animal or its environment. So please do that.
Yeah, the shirts are looking really cool. I love the look of them.
Yeah, you got the snakehead one, right?
Yeah.
Nice. Should be cool. So, all right. Well, let's get started. I'll read through all the choices here first, and then we can assign. We'll just go one by one, or not one by one. We'll go through a whole series with each person. So, bun or base, bannock, which is fry bread, also known as fresh wild greens, so like a lettuce bun, wild rice cakes, or acorn flour buns. The protein, grilled wild mushroom, Florida spiny lobster, snow goose, bear, mountain lion, northern pike, wild turkey, alligator, or octopus. Toppings, you get to choose one or two of these: ramps, chanterelles, spruce tips, service berries, rose hips, stinging nettles, dandelions, wild hog jowl bacon, morels, or fiddleheads. And so now we have to come up with our selections. I need a piece of paper so I can write mine down so that I remember what I pick. So let's take a moment. You pick yours and I'll pick mine.
Okay.
All right. Go ahead and give me mine.
Okay. Bannock or fry bread for your base. Bear meat for your protein. And I'll do service berries and wild hog jowl bacon for your toppings.
Okay. Here's yours: acorn flour buns, northern pike, dandelions, and fiddleheads.
Okay.
All right. So take another minute. We'll let's see. I'll start like what do we think? A 1 minute timer? Is that good?
Sure. Yeah.
Okay. All right. Ready? Go. Okay. You want to go first or you want me to?
I can go first. So my options were an acorn flour bun, northern pike, dandelions, and fiddleheads. So I created the river monster burger because fiddleheads can often be found growing on the edge of rivers, and pike are found in water. So it's a river monster burger. So there's an acorn flour bread. So it's a mix of acorn flour and white flour, creating like a hopefully a softish bun. I haven't cooked with acorn flour too often, so I don't know if that's possible or not. And then for the pike, I'm going to actually do mashed potatoes and then kind of mince some of the pike up really finely and then leave chunks of pike as well. And I'm going to mix it all into the mashed potato and create like a patty out of that. So it's going to be a little heartier than just the fish burger on its own. I'm going to top it with pickled fiddleheads, so it gives that kind of like pickly flavor. Oh, and the pike patty will be seared in a cast iron pan with oil, so it gets like that nice crispy layer of potato on the top. And then I'm going to make a dandelion flower petal. So I'm pulling all the yellow petals off the dandelions and creating an aioli with it, with a little bit of the juice from the pickled fiddleheads, and topping it all off with that. So it's going to be like kind of a hearty pike potato patty, lots of pickled fiddleheads for a bit of crunch and pickly flavor, and then that dandelion flower petal aioli. I think that would be a damn good burger.
That sounds really yummy. All right, you ready for mine? So I had bannock or fry bread, bear, service berries, and wild hog bacon. So I'm going to wait to cook my fry bread until the very end, because fry bread's best when it's hot and fresh out of the fryer. So for that dough, I am going to take like a thickish, roundish, like bun-sized piece of fry bread and fry it, and then I'm going to cut it in half. That way I got a nice flat surface on the inside to put all my ingredients. So that'll be the last step. I'm going to take the wild hog bacon, and I'm going to split it in half. And I'm going to chop it up or grind it, whichever, minced. And I'm going to add half of it to the bear, and I'm going to add half of it to the service berries, which I'm also going to chop up, and I'm going to make a service berry and wild hog bacon relish. With a little splash of apple cider vinegar in there to give it a little bit of acid, and a little bit of like smoked chili powder to give it a little bit of heat. So it'll be really good. And then in the bear, I like to do grated garlic and grated onion, along with some of that bacon inside the bear, mixed up. I don't think I'm gonna keep it lean and super just consistent. So I'll probably throw like an egg in there to mix to hold it together. And then what I'm gonna do is I'm gonna go like smash burger, crispy edges style. And then I'm gonna fry my fry bread. Pull my fry bread out, cut it. I'm going to smear the inside of it on the side in which I put the patty with some goat cheese, like a nice smear of goat cheese on there. Put my black bear burger, and then I'm going to add in the service berry relish, and I'm going to call it the Quad B.
The Quad B.
The Quad B.
Yeah. I like it. I like the thought of doing bear smash burgers, and you don't have to worry about the internal temperature so much.
Yep. That's it, because you always worry about, you got to cook it all the way through, and if you get a big thick patty, then you get kinds of complicated. So, yes. So, smash burger, bear, the Quad B. That's mine. All right, everybody go and vote for who you want to win. Just drop a comment on our Instagram page when we post this link after you listen, just on the on whatever the post is for this podcast episode. And we'll make sure that we donate appropriately to a conservation organization. I don't know. Who do you have one off the top of your head?
I'd like to every year I kind of choose a new magazine and a new conservation organization that I donate to. So I kind of rotate them all out. But I'll take a look at what's kind of needed right now.
Sure.
There's a lot of public land disappearing right now, so I'd probably do something like that, but we'll see.
Nice. All right, yeah. We'll make a little comment in the post too on who we're going to donate to. That should not sway your opinions, though. We're here for the burgers and conservation.
Explore historic waterways in 2025 with Scenic on the most inclusive cruise on Europe's rivers. Enjoy up to 5 dining experiences, spacious suites, and butler service. Be immersed in the culture with enriching free choice excursions and exclusive events. Scenic, in a class of its own. Book now and save.
Want to plan your next fishing trip without the hassle? FishingBooker.com is the best way to find and book a fishing charter anywhere in the world. Whether you're chasing trophy fish or just looking for a family day on the water, Fishing Booker makes it simple, fast, and secure. With thousands of experienced guides, verified reviews, and 24/7 customer support, Fishing Booker takes the guesswork out of planning. Visit FishingBooker.com and book your trip today. Fishing Booker. Fishing trips made easy.
So let's change the pace of the show. We had a fun game. Now let's get back to some knowledge sharing. Let's get into building better burgers, and let's start with choosing the right base or bun. So the bun's more than your holder. It balances texture, sweetness, and structure. Here's some options that we feel work really well with wild burgers. So you get brioche, Hawaiians, or potato buns. Those are really good. Probably one of my favorites. They're soft, slightly sweet, and they're great with like duck or salmon. But they could be a little delicate for like juicy, stacked, big, hefty burgers. So just be mindful of that. Sourdough. It's chewy and tangy. It works well with earthy meats like elk or deer. So pretty much anything there. I would throw bison in there. Also, sourdough is a pretty good standard. We keep it sliced on hand at our house. So that's often a go-to when we don't want to run out and grab burger buns. Ciabatta, you want to warm those up, get them a little crusty. It's very rustic. It holds up well, but it could be a little dry. So it's best to toast it lightly and then put a lot of sauce, because sauce is good. What's the old, do you guys have the old Carl's Jr.'s commercial up there? Drip happens?
No, we don't have any Carl's Jr. in Canada.
Oh.
So, yeah.
Hardee's? Did you guys get that one?
No Hardee's up here.
Man. Yeah, there used to be a Carl's Jr. burger. It was right, I think, at the point in like the mid 90s when Carl's Jr. bought Hardee's, and it was like this big giant massive burger, and the guy was eating it, and it just like drips, and it's like the slogan was "Drip happens," so always go with the sauce. Some foraged options, which we have bannock on here. I think that falls.
Like an acorn bannock or
acorn
wild
bannock.
grain kind of.
Yeah, that works. That makes sense. Wild rice cakes, griddled mushroom caps. I've seen those as well. I made those for my family. And then those are just some cool alternatives. And then, of course, lettuce, if you're looking for something that is gluten-free. It also works well with fish or seafood burgers, or even meaty burgers with an Asian flair. If you're counting your calories or watching your girlish figure like I am, it's a good option. But I would say one recommendation over anything else, always toast your buns. Even lightly, it adds structure, it keeps the sauce from soaking through, and man, oh man, is it just, it's better. Toasted is better.
Yeah.
So
there's a few instances where I won't toast if I'm looking for something super fluffy and light, but generally I nearly always toast them. And I like to toast them if I'm like making bacon with the burgers, I'll toast them in a little touch of bacon fat or something like that to get more of that flavor kind of through. So it's good.
Generally will always take and hit them with some butter, and then I put them on the grill like after you're finishing everything, like turn it off or kind of let them turn it down low. But let's talk a little bit about choosing the right protein, because we're all here for the protein. Wild game is lean by nature, so deer, elk, moose are high in protein and iron, but lack the fat content that gives you that traditional beef burgers, their moisture and richness. Duck and bear offer more fat, but still require careful handling. We'll discuss a little bit about fat here shortly, but it's optional whether or not you want to add that in. If you take your meat to a processor, you're largely going to get asked, do you want it with or without? Some people choose pork fat, some people choose beef suet, some people choose nothing, and then add it in later. If I ever get meat processed, it's usually a nothing for me, and I'll always add it in later. Or if I don't want to add a fat at all, I'll add egg as a binder. And that works really, really well. You can usually just add 1 egg per 1 pound of meat, and that'll help kind of hold it together. And if you're using fish like trout or salmon, moisture and flakiness become the main concern. You want to mix those binding ingredients like breadcrumbs, eggs, or even try a fat source, which I can say admittedly, I don't think I've ever added a mammal fat to, or a bird fat to, a seafood burger, which now I'm really intrigued as to why I've never done this.
Yeah, it works pretty good.
Yeah, I would say, what would be cool to do too is take like mushroom and add that. I wonder if you could get a similar effect.
Like chopped mushroom, you mean?
Yeah.
I've done those blended burgers. It's incredible. I'll talk about a bit more of that later, but they're really, really good.
I used a bit. I was making. Have you seen this like famed recipe? I can't remember the name of it. The guy takes. It's like a fillet of fish, and then you take these little round potato slices, and you put on the top of it, and then you sear, basically potato side down, and it makes the potato super crunchy, and then the fish cooks underneath it, and then you flip it once, and then you serve it.
Does it look like scales kind of?
They do. It's really cool. But I did it. But in order to get the potatoes to kind of all stick together, you take basically butter, render it down, and then let it cool off a bit. And you add cornstarch, or I used a bit of potato starch, and mix in there. And then that helps like bind the potatoes together as it cooks. So it's really cool. It's a cool concept. And I put them in the fridge before I took them to the skillet. So I wonder... Hopefully you can give you the answer I'm looking for in a little bit about, I wonder if I did the same thing with mushrooms or chopped greens or things like that, if I could start to get my head around that without too much filler like rice or breadcrumbs or some of the other things. But anyway, went down a rabbit hole for that, but it's okay. So when choosing your protein, ask yourself 3 things. Is it too lean on its own? What flavor does it bring? Is it earthy? Is it sweet? Is it have a bolder flavor, or is it very delicate? And what fat or moisture boosting ingredients will I need? And with that, Adam, on to fat.
Yeah, let's talk about fat. Because Most mild meats are obviously lean. Fat often needs to be added back in. It's not 100% necessary. There's people have individual tastes of whether they want fat in it or not. I find people often say it's just fine without it. And if I'm going for like a smash burger or something, I could agree with that. But anything thicker, and I'm always going to put fat into it because I want that like juiciness that a burger has. And I'm willing to give up some of the pure wild game flavor for that. But it's all a matter of taste. But a good rule if you're going to be adding fat is to aim to add about 15 to 20% fat into your burger blend. That's a really good ratio to give you like a nice juicy burger without it being too fatty. In terms of fat options, there's pork fat back, which has really neutral flavor. It blends really easily. It's pretty good kind of like workhorse for any kind of added fat. You can add bacon, just grind it right in. You can often buy bacon in like bacon ends and stuff from delis, which is a really good way to do that, as well as like prosciutto or pancetta or different types of bacon. It can be delicious, and I've used it before, but it's smoky and it can overpower delicate meats, or it just kind of makes everything taste like bacon. So sometimes I kind of want that, often I don't, so I don't always lean that way. Duck fat is rich and silky and has a lower rendering point than pork or bacon. It's ideal for, I'd say, like waterfowl burgers or like the fish burgers we were talking about before. It's not always great for meaty burgers, but it can help a little bit. And then lastly, beef tallow. Great for red meats, gives that burger taste. Like it makes you think of the classic burger from a diner or something, even when you're eating venison. It is pretty beefy though. So once again, if you don't want to lose your pure wild game taste, beef tallow might not be the trick for you. And even venison fat, which I know is not a popular opinion, but I like leaving a little bit in mine. Not enough to like make your mouth chalky, but enough to give a little more flavor and have a little bit of that natural fat in there, which I like. It's super important to chill all your fats before grinding so they can incorporate cleanly into the meat and then it's not smearing and just kind of running through it all. Keep in mind also that burgers with more fat in them tend to shrink more than lean burgers when you're cooking them. So if you have a lot of fat in your burger, make it larger than you think you're going to need to. In terms of fillers and binders, you can always, if you want your burgers to be juicier or to not fall apart, to not be as crumbly, because just plain like mostly fatless meat will tend to crumble and fall apart. You can also use fillers and binders. Some examples are like eggs, breadcrumbs. You can use beans, like cooked black beans, mashed or whatever. You can do like a mashed potato or potato starch, rice, mashed avocado. You can use mayonnaise, which works actually well with, I made wild turkey burgers with mayonnaise mixed in. The mayonnaise kind of disappears, but if you think of it, it's like mayonnaise is just eggs and fat, basically. Mm-hmm. So it does act as a really nice binder and makes them extra juicy. So something super lean like turkey, wild turkey, I think mayonnaise works great. Lastly, getting into those, what Justin mentioned there, the minced mushrooms. So they're kind of becoming known as blended burgers. I've experimented a lot with chanterelles and a few different things. You're basically going to like mince them up really small, cook them in butter or oil. So you always want to use cooked wild mushrooms. And then you mix that, you let it cool down and you mix that cooked minced mushroom into the burger meat. And that's going to, like those mushrooms hold on to a ton of moisture. So your burger is going to be like moisture, juicier, it's going to hold together better, and it's going to have that really nice wild mushroom flavor kind of emanating through it all. Once again, that's a mushroomy burger, so that's something I wouldn't use all the time, but it works great. Another one I made is a wild turkey burger with blended with chanterelle mushrooms, and that was just incredible. So definitely give that one a shot.
I would say too, one, if you want like a really springy burger, something you can do, and I recently experimented this with like hush puppies or like corn fritters, but taking your egg and actually beating them until they kind of start to foam and not form. You don't want it all the way into like stiff peaks, but like you can get a good like froth going with your eggs. Specifically, I would do you separate the whites from the yolks, and you want to whisk the whites until you get them like kind of pretty frothy and they'll get foamy, and then fold that into your meat, and that's going to give it like more of a spring if you want it. Ooh. So that would be like a different consistency if you have a lot of meat, but maybe you want to add some spring and bounce to it without it being completely like dried out. I think in my mind, it's kind of it's a different approach to it. But making those corn fritters, I was like, wow, this is a really cool technique.
Yeah, I would suggest also if you're going with fillers, that filler route, I would go lightly with it, because if you put a ton of breadcrumbs and a ton of onions and a bunch of eggs and everything, then you're basically just turning up with meatloaf at the end. It's not gonna have that same texture as like a really good burger. So don't go overboard. Sometimes you need to buy in just to get like a heartier kind of burger, but I would say go sparingly with those ingredients so you don't like come out with a different end product than what you're looking for.
So grinding, I think, is a very foundational thing, and a lot of people will get meat pre-ground at the processor or anything. I tend to, once I process my meat, I will save all my trim and then I'll grind it all at once, and I'll grind it without adding fat to it, because then I'll usually keep about 5 pounds or 7 pounds or 8 pounds or 10, whatever, depending on the size of the animal, and I'll seal all that together and I'll mark it grind for sausage, and then I'll break off like individual pound or 2 pound packs that I'll set aside. But on the animal itself, I'll use the shoulders, the neck, the intercostal rib meat's really good, the briskets, the hindquarters, all these are really good for burger meat. For small game, I think I've done ground small game. It definitely takes a bit of finesse and patience to debone all those little critters, but it can be done. And then you just grind all that meat, and you can use it squirrel burgers, rabbit burgers, things like that, beaver burgers.
Yeah. And I do have on the Intrepid Eater website, I have guides on how to debone a rabbit, how to debone a duck, how to debone a chicken, and so if you need to see how it's done, I have like photo pieces on that, so you can check that out.
For fish and seafood, you can grind all that, but it'll make better burgers if you mince about a third of whatever amount of fish that you have to where it's almost like a paste, and then cut the other 2/3 into like small irregular pieces, and then mix that together with the seasoning. You can add an egg or breadcrumbs, and then if you want like a firmer burger, but that gives you like a good base for the fish. I wouldn't grind most fish, like some of your big, heartier, meatier fish, like saltwater fish. Some of those you can, but it's not always possible. You can get the same ability with a mince using that, I guess, 1/3, 2/3 technique. Keep everything cold. You always, when you're breaking down meat, you always want things as cold as possible. If you have to put things back in the freezer, take them back out, all that stuff like that. Grind for the meat. You want to grind on your larger meat plate with bigger holes, and then shift to the smaller one after. And if you want to add your fat in, grind your meat through the large plate, grind the fat through the large plate, and then grind them combined together through the small plate, and that'll help incorporate them together really well. Then you won't have to do any really extra mixing if you don't want to. Shaping. So I see a lot of people work burger meat, ground meat a lot, and you don't want that because it starts to like mess with the proteins and their structure. If you like overwork it, think about like kneading bread dough. Don't do that. You want a light touch. Don't overwork it. If you do, it results in like a tougher burger because you start to kind of break down those proteins. Press an indentation in the center patty. It helps the burger cook more evenly. I actually make like donut burgers. Usually I will completely hollow out the center of mine. I get that crispy inner bite as well, but then also too, you don't have to worry about the cooking time as much. Don't add the salt until just before cooking because the salt will start to pull the moisture out of the burger meat itself, and so you don't want that. You salt and pepper your burgers, and they're sitting there on the countertop for 30 minutes while you go fire up the grill or heat up your skillet or whatever. Do that right before you put them on, or I like to season them as they're on the grill. I'll put it usually one side down, and I'll hit the top raw side with my seasonings. Then when I flip it again, I'll hit the other side, and that way, you get like tender, juicy. You're not playing science experiment and conducting some osmosis and things like that as it's going through. So while you're waiting to heat up the grill, if that makes sense. So the big choice. Grill or sear. For most wild game, cast iron skillets are your best friends. Mine lives on our stovetop. It gives high heat and even heat, and it develops a great crust, which is critical when cooking lean meat that can dry out easily. If you're using fatty game like bear, or you've added enough fat, the grill becomes more viable. Just watch your temps and avoid flare-ups, because then you're going to end up with very crispy burgers with very undercooked insides. And as we mentioned earlier, those black bear concerns, just black bear, wild pork, just be mindful of the wildness of the meat and the creepy crawlies that can exist there. If you're doing fish burgers, they almost always do better on a flat top or in pans, because shifting them around too much on the grill can cause them to fall apart. They can fall through the gaps, or they can overcook too quickly, which will really dry them out because you're not getting a lot of fat in there. So the bottom line, for lean or fragile patties, sear in the cast iron. For fattier blends or smoky flavor, go for the grill. Unlike steaks, chops, burgers can benefit from hitting the pan cold. This results in a better sear and a juicier interior, so it'll actually heat up. The fat will render out of that surface area just as quickly as the pan heats up, which is good. Same concept with bacon. And then to get your cheese to perfectly melt, add it after flipping the burger, and then cover it with a lid for about 30 seconds or a metal bowl while the burger is resting. And always rest your burgers. This goes for any meat. Always rest meat for at least 2 to 3 minutes. Burgers 2 to 3 minutes. Other meats like 10, 15 minutes. But Adam, what toppings are you putting on your burger?
So for toppings, it kind of depends on what kind of burger I'm making. If I'm making like every time I butcher a deer, I'll always make like some smash burgers for supper out of the last of the grind I'm doing. And for something like that, I'm just going to do like, ketchup and mustard, or just basic toppings. I just want it to be like super simple, old fashioned kind of burger. I might do bacon and cheese, depends. If I'm making more of a big supper burger, then I'll probably do, the whole like pickles, ketchup, onions, mayonnaise, lettuce, tomato, the whole kind of bit. And then if I do a lot of like kind of experimental burgers. So, I'll use different wild elements or domestic elements and kind of make some interesting things like Caesar burger or something like that. So I tend to change up things quite a lot, but if I'm just going for like a comfort, easy, quick burger, then it's just like super plain toppings, mustard, ketchup kind of thing. I am a ketchup guy. I don't eat ketchup except on burgers and hot dogs. So the ketchup often goes bad in our fridge. So I'm not a ketchup guy, but I still do like it on burgers and hot dogs. And a lot of people give me shit for that, but I'll take it. How about yourself?
I think toppings for me, so as far as ketchup, I very rarely eat ketchup except for with potatoes or eggs. I don't eat ketchup on burgers or hot dogs. It's usually just mustard or some other like fancy sauce. I don't like ketchup on my meat products at all. I think though, like a general like go-to is probably pickles, lettuce. We don't often have tomatoes in the house. We're not a lot of big tomato eaters, but we usually always have lettuce or some sort of green, if it's spinach or arugula or whatever. So generally that will end up on the burger. Sometimes I just go straight up like a patty melt and just do cheese and meat.
Yeah, no, what's wrong with that? We all know that toppings kind of make or break a burger, specifically a wild burger. And, to build your toppings, you kind of want to focus on contrast and balance. You want things to, balance out nicely so it all kind of conforms into a nice burger, but you want some elements that kind of stand out at the same time. So what you want to think about is acidity. That acidity will cut through richness. If you have like a big rich kind of burger, you want something, a little acidity to cut through, which I think is why I like ketchup sometimes. It adds sweetness and acidity. But I don't want it on anything else, really. But you could try, pickles or pickled ramps, sumac onions. I don't know if you ever have, like, the pickled onions with some, like, wild sumac. It's incredible. Or store-bought.
Oh, yeah.
You could do something like I
love pickled onions.
Like cranberry compote, or, you just want a little bit of acidity to cut through things. Then you want to think about crunch, because you want texture as well. So you could use like wild mustard greens. You could, like kale chips. You could do nettles in the same way, like crisp up some nettles. Fried burdock root is good at wild element. I even like those crispy onions that you get from like a can or like a bag. Those are like a good little thing to have in your back pocket just to add some like delicious onion flavor and crunch to anything you're making. Another thing you want to balance out is that umami. Your meat will have that umami kind of flavor to it, but you want to often, something like a burger, you want to like keep layering those umami flavors. So like some sauteed morels, like smoked cheddar cheese, mushroom powder in the burger, like a miso mayo kind of sauce. Those can all add a lot of umami. And then lastly, you want to balance a little sweetness. It can kind of enhance gaming. If you think of like traditional pairings with wild game, it's often like fruits, oranges, blueberry sauces, that kind of thing. So sweetness does go really well with game meat. You don't need fruit to get there though. You can achieve it with like caramelized onions, maybe some spruce syrup, grilled fruit like pineapples or apples even, those kind of things like jams or chutneys, all sorts of fun stuff. The order also matters when you're building a burger. It's funny, I worked at Burger King when I was a kid, so I think, what was the Whopper? It was ketchup, pickles, onion, and then mayo, lettuce, tomato for the Whopper. And I kind of, sometimes build it like that, but you want some sauce on the bun, and it protects the bun, especially if it's a toasted bun, which is even better. Some sort of like mayo or aioli or mustard or whatever you're using. That's on the bottom and on the top. From the bottom, then you can put your greens, then your patty, cheese on top of the patty, your pickles or crunchy toppings, and finally some more sauce or like a drizzle on top, but that's where your compote or whatever comes in. You can mess that order up a little bit. It doesn't really matter too much, but what you want to be aware of is like big items in the middle that will just slide right out and land up on your lap. So if you put like big chunky tomatoes right in the middle of your burger, when you squeeze it to take a bite, they're going to shoot out the back of it. So your tomatoes might be better off sitting on top of the sauce in the bun where they can't actually move around too much. So if you're building like a big burger full of stuff, like a big gourmet kind of bistro burger, keep that in mind. Picture squeezing it and picture what's going to fire it at you, and then put that on the bun rather than in the middle. Yeah, but toppings, this really comes up to what you're into, what your family's into, millions of options. It's all your kind of choice.
What would you say are some of the most unusual burger toppings
that I've had
or that you've seen? Yeah.
Sometimes I'll experiment with like some interesting things, like they're not strange, but like say if I'm going like I'm rocking around, I might do like harissa and preserved lemon peel, or I might do like I kind of theme my burgers. So I'll if I'm doing like a Mediterranean burger, it'll be like feta and all those different things. I don't know if there's anything crazy weird. I made a mousse and like a mousse patty and a shrimp patty, and did a double like surf and turf burger. That was pretty cool. I don't know if you consider that a topping or not, or another patty, but that was cool. Yeah, but I haven't strayed into too much madness when it comes to that. How about yourself?
Peanut butter. Peanut butter on bacon.
Oh, yeah.
Or peanut butter.
Do you like that?
Bacon. Yeah, like a jam too. Like it's all pretty. That could be pretty wild.
Like the Elvis.
Yeah, I think I'm just thinking through some like random ingredients. Like kimchi would probably be really good on a burger.
Yeah. Kimchi's good.
I do like egg on my burger. I wouldn't say that's unusual, but I like putting fried eggs on burgers.
Yeah, that's usually good. It adds another big element of richness. Aussies do like pickled beets and
that's what I was about to say. Beetroot. I've never had it with beetroot on there.
Yeah, it's not bad. I made a kangaroo burger on the Harvest Nature website, and it has pickled beets, like the Aussie style pickled beets and pineapple. It was pretty good.
What's your go-to cheese?
I got a confession to make in that sense then, because I go with like, depending on the burger and the type of burger I'm making, I kind of like those American kind of Kraft single style melty American cheese. Like, I just love how it melts, and I love the texture of it. I know it's not real cheese, but like on a smash burger, like a bacon cheeseburger smash burger, like that's perfect for me. Like a big hunk of like really good cheddar, just I find it takes a little flavor and it doesn't melt right, and I don't actually enjoy it as much. But I do find myself using like smoked Gouda quite often. I really like that on burgers.
Smoked Gouda is good. Yeah.
Yeah, but I like a smoky flavor. I don't like a big sharp flavor as much for cheese. I don't want that cheese to be what I'm tasting in the burger. I want it to be kind of homogenous with the meat and add something without taking over. So that's kind of where I sit. Although sometimes like a crumbled blue cheese or something that is really sharp can work with like a burger too. So I don't know. I'm all over the place.
Yeah, I think me too. I think it's a place and a time, depending on what I'm feeling in the current mood. Like, I'm not a big blue cheese. I like blue cheese, but I'm not a big blue cheese burger fan. But then sometimes I'm like, I'd really like a blue cheeseburger. You know, I don't. It just kind of depends on, you know, whatever the way the burger spirits are guiding me that particular day.
Yeah, exactly.
Whatever the occasion, effortless elegance is right this way. Because Hilton brings you new ways to stay courtesy of the Nomad London. And it doesn't stop at award-winning dining in a space draped in velvet and illuminated by vintage chandeliers. No, this day goes beyond with unparalleled personalized service and attentive hospitality. Oh, and did we mention the Nomad London can be booked using your Hilton Honors points at Hilton.com? Hilton, for the stay.
What does every USAA member have in common? Family. We're one big family who supports the military community and their eligible families. And if you, your parent, or spouse served, you could join our family and save big on auto insurance. Visit USAA.com/join today to check your eligibility. Membership eligibility and product restrictions apply and are subject to change. USAA means United Services Automobile Association and its affiliates, San Antonio, Texas.
What types of burgers do you usually like making at home? Like, what do you find yourself doing more often with the family?
So I think probably the one that we go to the most is also confession to make. I guess not a confession. We make a lot of black bean burgers, but I make them from scratch. But if we're making meat burgers, we make smash burgers. I like just doing it. Even if I have like a thicker patty, I just kind of like smash it on there. Just because it's fun. But I'll start off with like a ball of ground beef or ground meat, usually around 3 or 4 ounces. I want some fat content in that, and I put it on my hot cast iron skillet or griddle, and then I smash it flat with the spatula, and I cook it until the eggs are crispy and brown, which is about 2 minutes. And then I'm not a big person that flips, so I like to get that good sear the first time and then flip it. And then I'll add my cheese right after and then serve it up. But I think an alternative too is, like I mentioned earlier, that Oklahoma onion burger. So I use a mandolin to very thinly slice the onions and put those there, and then I'll smash the burger on top of it. Kids don't like that as much because they're not a big onions fan, but I think it's cool because you get kind of like crispy caramelized onion also on top of the crispy caramelized meat, which is pretty good. Stuffed burgers are good too, you know, the Juicy Lucy. So that one, if you're going to make it, you'll want to take like 2 thin patties for each burger, and you'll place your cheese or other fillings like maybe mushrooms or bacon in between them and seal the edges, kind of like you would seal pastry. And then cook it over medium heat in a grill or pan for 5 to 7 minutes until it's fully cooked and the cheese inside is melted. You can't really tell how melty the cheese is, but you'll want to cook it at a lower temperature than you would other burgers, so you get the inside, the ability to cook and whatever things are in there to heat up or melt before the outside gets super seared and charred. Your pub style burger, so that's like a really thick burger, thick, juicy, hearty. So you're going to go with like a 6 to 8 ounce patty for this one with a higher fat content, so it'll be super juicy. Season it with salt and pepper, grill, sear to your preferred doneness. I don't know, Adam, what's your preferred doneness on burgers?
I found when I'm going to the States, I get asked way more often what I want my doneness to be. While in Canada, you don't hear that as much. They just kind of give you like a well done burger. Or medium well. So I've kind of grew up with it. I don't actually love a rare burger. I think I prefer it kind of medium, where the fat has rendered out nicely. It's like warmed all the way through, a little pink, but not too red. I think that's where I kind of sit.
I think, yeah, that's where I'm at too. I'll generally order mine medium rare. I'm trying to think back. The first time I ever had a burger that wasn't cooked all the way through was in college. There's a restaurant in New Orleans called Port of Call, and it looks like you're going into a dungeon to eat these burgers, but they're really good, and they make all the ground meat every day. and store it like pretty well. It's never frozen. It's all fresh ground meat, like literally fresh meat that's been grounded, which is really good. But I think that was the first time in there. They would do like rare, medium rare were usually the options you would get. And yeah, you get some good burgers. But I think it's been fairly recently that more places have started asking you here in the States how you like your burger cooked. I feel like prior to like 15 years ago, 20 years ago, it was always just like you just ordered a burger and you got it.
Yeah.
But I think it's cool because I don't like mine well done, but I prefer it like medium rare or medium, like you said. Sliders, I think, have made a big comeback. You know, it's ironic that the original sort of like fast food burger was the slider from White Castle, and then now everybody moved to a larger burger, and then now it seems like over the past decade or so, sliders have made a reemergence, maybe longer than that, but essentially they're just mini burgers. So you want to weigh out 2 to 3 ounces of each, press them flat and cook them quick on a hot griddle. They're perfect for parties, for sampling different flavor combinations. Serve on small, soft buns. Hawaiian rolls are really good because they're already kind of sized for that. With simple toppings, cheese, pickle, dab of mustard, or ketchup if you're Adam. And then toast the buns and keep them. They're easily assembled fast and hot. Well, a cool trick with those, if you're using like the Hawaiian rolls, just cut the whole thing of Hawaiian rolls in half and just let it set, and then just put your meat on there in your little portions and then cut it. So it works out really well.
It's easy. We just the other night I was just at my friend's place and we did slider night. So we just bought a big bag of the slider buns, and each one of us came up with a different slider burger. I think there was like a jerk pork one. I did like a Mediterranean lamb burgers, like Greek lamb burgers. I can't remember the other one right now. But they all turned out really good. It was fun. And then we each, and then you kind of serve them all together. We're all just picking out on sliders, and they're all different. So it's kind of a fun barbecue thing to do, like, with your friends.
You could do, like, a slider bar.
Yeah.
All right, fish burgers. So you want to use flaked fish like salmon or trout combined with a binder, egg, panko, mayo, flavor with herbs or citrus. Form them into patties and chill before cooking. That lets the binder set. And then pan fry in a bit of oil until golden brown, about 3 to 4 minutes per side. Serve with a lighter sauce. Some good options: dill yogurt, lemon aioli on a soft bun, or a wild rice cake is kind of a cool option if you want something different. And then foraged veggie burgers. So you'll blend cooked beans or lentils with mushrooms, wild greens. So think about nettles, lamb quarters, garlic, breadcrumbs, or oats, and add a binder like a flax egg or mashed sweet potato, or use regular egg. Form into patties and chill to firm up. Cook in a pan with the oil until it crisp on both sides, and served with fresh greens, pickled veggies, and try like a smoky sauce. But let's talk a little bit more about recipes. Adam, what's one of your favorite burgers to make and the recipe?
I was going to bring up the green chili snow goose burgers, but I think we talked about them a lot. So I'm going to maybe do my Moroccan-style lake chote burger. It was really good.
Ooh,
Remember, snow goose legs make for great grinding, great ground meat for burgers. So my Moroccan-style lake chote burger, it's on the Intrepid Eater website. I just took that 1/3 and 2/3 rule that we talked about earlier. So I chopped 2/3 of the trout into like tiny cubes, and then the other third I kept mincing, and basically running my knife over it until it turns into a paste. And that paste will actually bind your burger. So I didn't have to use, breadcrumbs or eggs or anything in it, but it still creates a delicate burger. So if you're kind of afraid of flipping whatever, you can still add some of that stuff. And then I made a sauce out of mayo, harissa paste, garlic, and lemon juice. I added some preserved lemon into like spices, like Moroccan spices, coriander, cumin, pepper, some chili flakes, preserved lemon peel chopped up into the actual burger itself. Fried it in a nonstick pan, which I don't use all that often, but it worked really well for this. And then just served it with soft bun with lettuce and the more harissa paste, and that was really tasty. So if you any type of fish, you can basically do that 1/3 to 2/3 rule and come up with a really tasty burger. What do you got next?
I'm going to talk about the seared tuna burgers, which I think are really fun. So with that, you're going to want about 2 pounds of tuna cut into about 1/2-inch cubes. I think following Adam's like 1/3, 2/3 rule would be really good. If not, you can just cut it all kind of into cubes and form it. I went really like kind of an Asian tropical influence on this flavoring. So then you've got soy sauce, teriyaki, rice wine vinegar, sesame oil, ground cayenne, black pepper, garlic powder. I threw some Cajun seafood seasoning in there, a cup of panko, and some oil. And then you essentially just mix all that together, let it set in the fridge for about 5 minutes. That lets the panko moisten and bind to the fish, and then just sear it in a cast iron pan. It comes out like really, really, really good. And then for the sides, you could do shredded cheese or sliced cheese on it. I went with spinach, fresh spinach, and then I did a spicy mayo, which worked out really well because you get the Q pie and the sriracha and all that. And then your buns, you can really go with anything. I think that would be really good on like a Hawaiian bun, or a potato roll would be really, really good as well. Super easy, simple burger to make if you've got some fish or tunas on sale, or you caught some or whatever. You could do it with just about any of those fish if you follow that sort of rule. So, all right, over to you.
I'm going to do a recipe that ended up in the Backcountry Journal, and I really love this one. It was the moose burgers on bannock buns, and there's a lot of special kind of wild elements into that I incorporated into this. So first I made a cranberry ketchup. We all know how much I love ketchup on burgers now. So took a bag of cranberries. You can also harvest them wild if you're able to. Shallots, sugar, some maple vinegar I used, some spice like cinnamon, allspice, cloves, and I turned that into, cooked it down and blended it into a ketchup. Then I made some bannock buns with melted duck fat instead of butter or oil. So it was like duck fat bannock. And then for the burgers, I used ground moose, ground out some bacon into it, and some mushroom powder, which, is just dehydrated mushrooms ground into a powder. And then I basically made, so this ramp butter is wild leek, whatever. It's like a compound butter made with wild leeks mixed into it. I took, cooled it down so it was nice and hard, cut off chunks of it, and then wrapped the burgers around the chunks of ramp butter. So it's almost like the turkey Kiev recipe you had, but when you take a bite into the burger, all this ramp butter spills out. It's ridiculous. And then I seasoned that with spruce salt and added a little bit of chopped chanterelle mushrooms in it. Seared the burgers, and then I topped them with seared chanterelles and that cranberry ketchup, and holy crap, they were good. So good. I think I used ramp infused salt in the bannock too, so it's just wild throughout the whole burger. They turn out really beautiful and incredibly delicious. So check out, I have that on my website and on the Backcountry Hunters and Anglers Backcountry Journal as well. So check it out.
Sounds really, really good. Man, sounds really, really good. I've got mine. I'll cover this last one. This one's pretty simple, pretty straightforward, but we talked about the Juicy Lucy earlier, and this would be the venison version of it. So Havarti stuffed venison burgers. I really like Havarti cheese. Big fan of Fontina as well. I think they're really cool, soft, not super soft, I guess semi-soft white cheeses, which are really yummy as well, and they pair really great with wild game. But this one, I think I used about 1.5 pounds of ground venison. I did do, there was no fat in this, so I added breadcrumbs and egg. I included Harvesting Nature's Big Game Blend, salt and pepper to taste, and then I did 4 slices of Havarti cheese with 4 burger buns. Your toppings were pretty simple, but essentially just mix all the burger ingredients together. You press or form the meat into 8 thin patties, like I mentioned earlier. Divide the cheese slices up in each one into 4 pieces and kind of place them on top of 4 patties. Divide them up into that, and then paste the other patty on top, and then you're going to press the edges together. Repeat to do all the burgers, and then grill, bake, pan sear, and then enjoy that delicious cheesy goodness. I would say, just like we mentioned earlier, you could add chopped mushrooms, you could add roasted peppers in the middle, you could add tons and tons of different flavors. Even cooked wild greens would go really well inside that, like Adam mentioned, sort of with his compound butter. But I think that element of cheese on the inside is a really fun, neat way to do it. But yeah, that's it. So I think we've provided everybody with a good base for your burger building. I can't think of another word that rhymes with B, so I'll just go with that. But yeah, no, it's fun. Burgers are great. It's a great time of the year to break out the grill, go outside, cook some burgers on the Blackstone, whatever it is that brings you joy with your burger making. I don't know, Adam, last thoughts on burgers?
Stick to the ones that you love, and then every once in a while, try something new. Break away. You might have probably been making the same burger for the last 20 years, so try something different. Try fish burger. Try making a wild plant burger. There's all sorts of cool things to incorporate into them, and then you might find something you really enjoy. So yeah, try it out.
Yeah, thanks everybody out there for listening. Whatever podcast platform you're listening to, please punch that 5-star button, leave us a review, tell us what we're doing wrong, or what we're doing right. Thanks everybody. Have a good night.